Welcome to Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast, your podcast dedicated to all things Animal Crossing. Episode 95 is brought to you by Madeline Hawkins, one of our newest Patreon patrons. Today, Sergio and I are joined by Drama to discuss all the new Horizons footage we have gotten so far. So to begin, hello Sergio, how you doing?
Hi Chewy, I'm doing amazing. It was a really good week, it was a good direct. And we finally got something again. It was so good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And Drama, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good. I'm so excited. How are you guys doing? I hope you're well.
Yeah, we're great. I've been excited to have you back on again because it's been so long since we've gotten to chat about all things Animal Crossing. And I feel like this one's going to be a little bit less like interviewee because the first time we had you, we were just talking about you and all the stuff that you're into and all of that. But now we just got to talk Animal Crossing and there's so much new stuff. So yeah, like Sergio said, we got very exciting news this past week. So we're going to actually start a little further back, though, because we haven't talked to you since before E3. So, yeah, let's start there. How was your E3 this year?
It was so good. I was crying, the whole time. It was very emotional for me, just because, we've been waiting for so long, and we kept feeling like every time there would be a direct, we're like, oh, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And I feel like that was, the one direct where everyone was like, yeah, no, it's not happening at E3. It's just not going to happen at all.
Yeah.
And then it did, and we're all like, oh, okay, it is happening.
Yeah, we've definitely gotten to that point where we're just like, I don't know, we just can't believe it anymore. It's not even possible at this point.
Yeah.
So I guess what were your thoughts on the whole Animal Crossing New Horizons revealed? What did you think of the name? What did you think of what you saw back then?
I feel like if you would have asked me the week before how I would feel about a deserted island, I would be like, no, I don't want to be on an island. I want to enjoy all the seasons. But there's just something really charming about the whole island having nothing on it. And we actually built it from the ground up instead of moving into a town that already is built. And so I love that. I remember talking about it before. I think might have been with you guys too about crafting, the idea that crafting could be a thing. And I was like, as long as it's implemented right, and they implemented it right. So my worries of anything that was I don't know how to feel about that, were fixed. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm good. I'm feeling this.
Yeah, that's really good news. Because I see it in the comments all the time. Just people did not want crafting. They didn't want cooking. Mm-hmm. We'll talk a little bit more about cooking probably later. But, but yeah, there were a lot of things that people just kind of felt weren't Animal Crossing. And I definitely was with you, too, with the deserted island type of thing. I was just like, no. That's an island, an Animal Crossing. They've always been perpetually summer, And I'm like, that's my least favorite season to play. I don't want it to be always summer. The fun is that it changes,
Yeah.
So, I was against Arlo. Arlo said it was going to be called Island Life. It's going to be on an island. And I was like, no, Arlo, you've said a lot of things, but this one is not good. Cool. And then I guess, what did you think of the name New Horizons?
I think the only thing I disliked about it was that they used the word new again. Beyond that, though, I really like it, though. I feel like that it's just a nice, fitting, warm, friendly name, and it definitely could be worse, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, Sergio guessed it, so
I know. Rigged.
Yeah, I know. Instead of giving away one copy now, Sergio, we have to give away 3 things.
Oh, darn you, Sergio.
That's messed up. Our fans are totally mad at you for that.
They're so upset.
Cool. And then I guess at that point, what were you most excited to learn more about? Or were you pretty satisfied and just you know what? They don't have to tell me anything new. Just give me the game.
And what do you mean?
From that E3 direct, was there something you wanted to learn more about as far as the features, or did you just feel kind of satisfied with the information they shared?
Oh, okay. I feel like what they shared was definitely a teaser. The whole trailer itself was definitely just a teaser of what's to come. So I am really glad that they did do the treehouse footage as well. Then that gave us more answers and in depth and like went more into details about stuff.
Yeah, a lot of us from Haken, we kind of, when we first saw what they showed as part of E3, it was a little like, this doesn't look quite like what we wanted. But then when they clarified a lot of things on the treehouse, yeah, it was really good. I don't know if you kind of felt the same way.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was just like, what's that? What's this going to be like? What's that? What are you going to do with that thing? And when they went through the treehouse, they're kind of like, all right, here's your tent, and like, here's moving stuff, and like, here's confirmed like moving things like quarter or half measurements instead of like full measurements. Like, we might have been able to like dissect and maybe figure that out on our own by like looking through the trailer, but just having them go through and like show you everything. And plus we got to see the multiplayer a little bit better, and we probably wouldn't have understood that there was even a local play if they didn't do the treehouse. So I am glad they did it, because they definitely gave us a lot of information we couldn't have figured out probably on our own.
Yeah, and I have a very funny side note about that like half increment thing, because I was going to make this huge video kind of estimating how big the grid for the island was essentially. And then I just had the realization, I was like, oh man, I'm trying to look at everything on the ground here on this island and make a grid based on that. Yeah. But I had the realization that some of these things are placed off, they're kind of they're not on the 1-to-1 ratio, some of them are the 1.5 to 2.5 spot. And so I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna, that's a headache just waiting to happen. I'm not gonna even try. I'm just gonna wait till the game is out, and then we'll all figure out how big this map is, because that's something a lot of people want to know more about. They're like, is that the size of the map? Is that enough for you? Is that too much or not enough? I don't know.
Because I feel like you and I always go back and forth about the size of island that we want.
I mean, I want to expand mine.
If there's an option to make my island smaller, I want to do it.
Oh, wow.
I like cozy little environments, and I feel like, I don't know, that's just my thing.
I think that's also awesome, though, because I am pretty jealous of, like, the people who don't have the fully expanded house, because they have, like, some of those rooms that are very small, and you walk into them, and you're just like, oh, man, this room is cozy. It is perfect.
Yeah, that's what I did in my New Leaf town. Like, my upstairs is, like, 1 or 2, and then I have, like, the back room, and then, like, the basement, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that. Because you could do so many cool things with those designs. And that does make me really want a feature where we can like downgrade our stuff afterwards. In New Horizons. I hope they
I hope so, because like I remember that's one reason why I like restarted my town. It's because my first house I went full blown, and then I was like, oh, I don't want this. And so then I made a new town and minimized everything down.
Yeah, we're a different generation, We just don't want our houses to be so big anymore.
Yeah, just at least the option to, like, adjust the sizes of rooms, like, up or down.
Yeah, and even just choosing the shape of the room as well. That's going to be huge, which, I don't know. I really hope all of that stuff happens. So I have one last question from, like, the E3 things, and that is, what, I guess, of the new features that we saw then was your favorite thing?
By far, it would have to be the Nook Miles. Because in previous games, like New Leaf, for instance, there is a min-max. And if anyone doesn't know what min-max is, it means minimum effort, maximum outcome. And so the min-max for New Leaf is to go to the island, get bugs, make money. Like, that's the process. And so what Nook Miles does, it rerouted that. It made doing the little things important. So now when you walk by a common butterfly, you're not going to not catch it, because it goes towards a different type of goal where you still get resources and you still get a currency for it. Yeah. It's just not the standard bells.
Yeah, that's very true. We're at that point where I think they've done a lot with the gameplay that is going to really rebalance that and really rebalance the effort that we put in as players, because there's so many things that you get once in the game, and then you're just like, well, did that, don't need to do that ever again.
Exactly. Like, I remember, and just in New Leaf, you just like walk by and you're like, oh, I don't need this butterfly, or like, oh, I don't need this bug anymore, or this fish. Like, you feel like that you've already done it, and so it gives you a reason to get more.
I don't touch the seashells at all.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I should. I don't know. I should check, but can we send letters to Isabel? Because I would send her seashells.
That's so
Because I do
cute.
remember she never made it out to the beach, and that girl deserves a break.
She does.
Yeah, but yeah, I really do like that the Nook Miles does that, the crafting does that. Everything is just more worthwhile to doing. I loved, oh man, I guess let's jump into this new stuff that we got.
Or else we'll get distracted.
Yeah, I'm ready to hop into it. I know I'm already going to get distracted with it. So yeah, now we're going to talk about the New Horizons news at the September Direct, and I always put it that way because I like saying "new" 3 times. It's like the new Nintendo 3DS. So anyways, like what I was going to say there is that, oh man, I completely lost my train of thought. We're talking about seashells, right? And getting all the things.
And mailing it to Isabel.
Mailing them to Isabel. Oh man, I don't even remember now. I worked hard on this segue, and it's going nowhere. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say now.
It's totally fine.
Cool. So I guess I'll just list really quickly kind of the new things I noticed. You both can add anything to, and we can kind of, I guess, go through these maybe one by one and talk about them a little bit more in depth. But real quickly, the new things that we saw that I noticed, there's the Dodo Airlines, which is our airport at the southern half of town. There's new music that we heard, not exactly saw, but we did hear it. And then there's the crafting screen, some little changes there that showed up. There's the Nook Miles, of course. There's eating. There's apps. There's some new apps that we saw on the phone. There was the giant mushroom. We could catch snowflakes. And then they did kind of clear up the path creating system to show that we could round off the edges. So let's start from the top. I guess Dodo Airlines, what do you both think of that place?
I am excited because I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate the pun of Dodo Airlines because dodo birds can't fly. And so that's why it makes me laugh so much. It's like, they can't fly, so they just made an airline.
Yeah. Yeah, they also don't exist anymore.
That too, but it is an extinct bird.
Yeah, but it does, I think a lot of us are wondering, like, are we going to see a Dodo character take over this place? What is Porter going to do, you know?
Yeah.
It seems like the easy thing, or maybe they can just,
I feel like they work together.
Yeah, they could work together, but they could also address that, like, dodos don't exist, so maybe they don't show up.
Well, either do unicorns and Julians in the game.
Yeah, that's true. And Drago, the dragon.
Yeah. Exactly. I think it'd be like a dodo bird would be like maybe the receptionist, and then Porter would be like the pilot.
Oh, nice. That'd be nice.
Oh, yeah, that works out.
So like the dodo bird would be the person like you talk to like in the airport area, I guess.
Yeah. Kind of like, I guess Porter had that job a little bit prior with the train station in New Leaf. I'm trying to think if any others, kind of the train station and population growing. I think he did sort of both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that goes along with like what I want. Sergio and I talked about this, but like splitting the workload with all the characters.
Yeah.
So things are open 24/7 and then nobody seems like they're overworked. Poor Blathers.
I know. He's always sleeping on the job.
Yeah. So is Celeste. That's too bad for they have to work, you know. It's a public facility, the museum, so it's important. But yeah, I was watching another video of somebody who looked at the Dodo Airlines colors, and we saw yellow and blue in this new trailer, but looking back at the footage from E3, there was kind of more of a teal/green color for the airline. Yeah. Which, that one looks really cute. You only see like one small corner of the building, but the color looks great.
I like that because it's like a throwback to even like how it was in New Leaf with the different colored train stations.
Yeah. And I'm really wondering like if we're going to have a little bit more control over that in the future too.
I hope so.
And I think I mostly got into that want because of Happy Home Designer, where whenever you made a new facility, you could make essentially, you could choose the exterior to it. And so I think later on in the game, I would love to choose the exterior.
Yeah.
And, I left this out of my list, but there is a lot of... we're seeing a lot of customization with furniture. So one example is when we're inside the player's tent in this new trailer, they've got a black radio, but the first trailer and the treehouse footage showed off a white radio, for example.
Same thing with the lantern as well. Like in some scenes, the lantern's red, and some scenes, the lantern's black.
Yeah.
And then obviously the cot's different.
Yeah, and somebody even sent me that they used a different footage in the Japanese version of this trailer. So they have a different color as well. So I think the radio in that one was a green, kind of a dark foresty green color. And then the lantern kind of matched that. So
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think somebody had tweeted it to me, and I retweeted it a couple days ago.
I'm gonna go creep your tweets and find it later.
Yeah. So we're already seeing like a lot of variety with the items that we start out with, and I'm like, there has to be some way to customize that and make that kind of a reality,
Yeah.
And if that works with these items, please make it work with the buildings.
Yes.
Let us go and mess with Dodo Airlines and be like, hey, I really enjoyed this yellow color for a while, but I'm really feeling the blue now,
Or even let us change the color of the dock. Because I really love
nice.
pale wood colors. I know some people would like really deep, dark color as well. I think even little details like that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be really great. I'm going to look at that doc again and see if they've already thought of it, but I don't think they
maybe we
have.
haven't noticed.
Yeah, maybe we haven't noticed.
We're just like, oh, blue, yellow.
I mean, when they stick a primary color at you like that, it's easy to look at. So I don't know if you all had anything else to say about Dodo Airlines. Oh, you know what? That plane is adorable.
The plane is adorable.
Yes.
I also like that you can see how deep the water is there as well.
Yeah, you're right.
That was really cool. Because then that's
Yes.
okay, diving's coming back then, right? Because it's really deep water there.
I mean, I hope so. I'm assuming there must be some reason they haven't shown us swimming at all, because I'm like, look, if I'm going to an island, I'm for sure swimming. That's one of the main activities I'm going to this island to do.
I hope there's a raft and we can go paddling out there. Oh.
Yeah, that would be really cute. But yeah, I'm thinking, it seems to me like they're doing a lot of work with the water still, because I know a lot of people have seen differences between the ocean in the first E3 footage and the ocean now. And one of them, of course, being we can see into the water and see the depth. And that makes me wonder how the diving creatures are going to show up underneath. Are we going to be able to make out what they are? Are we still going to see more of a shadow,
Yeah.
I hope it's a mix of both, personally, a shadow that you can kind of, eventually learn the fish shapes and stuff, and you're like, oh, this fish is a little bigger, so I have to catch it because it's something good. And then maybe swimming along the ocean, you see a shadow of, I don't know, I guess an octopus or a squid, and you can eventually tell by the shape, which one's which.
But we just talked about Nook Miles and how they're going to be beneficial to catch all fish, Chewy.
Yeah, and I know, it's very true. And maybe you are looking for something specific, so it helps to be able to see them a little bit.
I hope that they choose different shapes instead of an octopus doesn't look like a regular fish. I wish it would have its own shadow shape that would match the type of fish it is.
Yeah, and we got very little tastes of that in the older game, with the eel, for example.
Yes.
That one comes up as that long boy snake thing.
Long boy.
And then, and then we have the sharks with the fin sticking out.
I don't know why that got me.
Yeah, and then we have the sharks with the fin sticking out of the water.
Oh, yes.
So we got tiny bits of variety, but now this game is in HD, and every time I see it, I'm just like, oh man, this is so pretty.
It's so pretty.
Cool. So let's talk about the music a little bit. Did you notice some of the new music that played?
I haven't like sat down and looked at it, but
you can kind of tell, like, you know, they're of course they're going with the main theme, but the one that I was able to pick apart is, you know, it sounds like an offbeat version of the main theme that we're getting, and that's cool. That's always what they do, and it's working really well. It sounds like good Animal Crossing music again.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's very distinct for me is that it's the first time I feel like we're hearing Animal Crossing music outside of, I guess, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe track that really sounds like it's being played on a real instrument. Because up until now, it's been very MIDI kind of computer generated sounds. And now I'm just like, I messaged Sergio about this, but I was like, Sergio, we're going to get KK Slider songs played on a real guitar this time. And maybe a real dog will also sing along.
Oh my God.
I mean, adorable.
Oh my goodness.
But no, I mean, at least we'll get like a real guitar, I think, for that sound. Because it's always been kind of like a guitar-like kind of computer sound they used. But yeah, now I'm ready to hear the actual acoustic versions of KK Slider songs, and then putting in that that tape with the more recorded version, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the note I wanted to make on the music, because that is very exciting for me. I just can't wait to hear this game.
Did you really have to do a pun?
Oh, what pun?
You said a note on the music.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I did that on accident, but now it's on purpose.
I was like, you're like, oh, God.
Cool.
Nice.
So I guess the crafting screen, the little thing I pointed out in my recent video was that things can possibly be like, we get to see the sizes of what we're crafting, and I'm really interested because it does come out as like decimal points, and I'm like, does that mean we're gonna have something that's like 1.5 size or 2.5 size, you know? And if it does, I'm just really happy about that, because I really want to see like a variety of things. I've talked about like Pocket Camp kind of has some new items where you, like, for example, the screen that was in a cookie a little bit ago, but it's like a movie theater screen, and the size is like 1x4. Like, it's a very long screen, but thin, you know? And it also makes me wonder if things are going to be in like half measurements, like something really small, like maybe a cup, for example.
Yeah.
That's what I want so bad.
Yeah.
Because that's my thing, is I like to clutter in games. I like to make everything. That's why I want a small island, because I just want this little tiny cluttered island. And so if there's a bunch of items that are a half measurement, oh my God, they're going to be everywhere.
Yeah. And then like if it is a half measurement, what's cool about that is like the cups, for example, like you can put 4 of them in one little square. And then it does look like really cluttered, which is nice. And you get that nice feel for it. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I feel like there was something else I noticed on the crafting
I think
screen recently.
One cool thing is that it shows you that you already have, either you have something or you have crafted it before with a little check mark. It looks like that's the case, and that's good to know, so you don't double craft on accident if you don't need to.
And I think there's like a little bag when it's in your inventory too, or something like that.
Yeah. I think I had just noticed that on probably like my last watch of this this trailer, which was I think earlier this morning. But yeah, it does show you when you do already have something, so that is awesome.
And then they're like the little, one of the things had like gold acorns behind it. I don't know if that meant like you can craft it or you've already made it or what, but there was one icon that had like gold acorns behind it.
Yeah, I think that was indicating that they already had that, because I think there was like a check mark on it too.
Yeah.
So
or maybe it's like for like a challenge or something, or like, that's what I was thinking, that maybe it could signify that like maybe a villager asked for you to make that for them, and that way you would know, oh, this is for a quest or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I hadn't even thought of that. I would love to have like be sent to just go craft something.
Because sometimes I forget. Like my villagers will ask me for something. I'll be like, "What did you say again?" Like,
Yeah. Yeah, they tend to just ask you for stuff and then you walk away and you're just like, I have no idea what I was even doing at this point.
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's some kind of quest or something like that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I hope so. I've always wanted that feature from like population growing to return where you can just get sent on some scavenger hunt for something.
Yes.
And I think crafting is a good way to handle that where you're just like, oh, I don't really have anything to do. I've kind of crafted everything. And then your villager asks you and you're like, oh, you want this? Yeah, I'm going to craft that for you right
They're like,
now.
"Oh, I love to catch bugs. Can you make me a bug net?" Yes, I would love to.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there needs to be just some way to share the resources with your characters because, they all start in a tent too, and you're just like, oh, little buddy, I'll give you a net so you can catch some things and decorate with bugs or sell them and make some money and pay off your home. Yeah, I just want them to be successful. The Nook Miles as well. The big thing that happened here is that they confirmed that we're going to be able to essentially trade Nook Miles for special items and special crafting recipes.
Yeah, and I'm hoping there's also some special Nook Miles that act like the badges from New Leaf, something like permanent. It's really cool to have them probably swap around either daily or weekly because it's just gonna keep us going. But it's also nice to have like really long time or long range goals like the badges used to be.
And that's a big thing in a lot of games like nowadays is like having a daily or a weekly type of challenge or activity that you need to do. Even like Pocket Camp has that. So I could see them definitely adding some kind of daily or weekly quest or functionality to that as well.
Yeah, so I think weekly and daily things are very fun because we got a little taste of that with the Meow coupons in New Leaf when that got updated. And so like those things, there were ones that updated weekly and I think ones that updated daily, And or was it all just the same goals for the week? I actually don't remember anymore.
I don't remember either.
But yeah, I do really like the thought of having Nook Miles where some things you can do on a daily basis, and then other things, it's like really big long-term goals that you have. And I feel like even Pocket Camp kind of captures that very well. Where every day there are daily goals, and then they have like monthly goals, and then they have just like in general game goals, which some of them are short, others are like, oh, you kind of have to work up to do that,
Yeah.
But I think Nook Miles is their opportunity to really work that system in.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm really excited about that. The idea that all the little things that we do have purpose, because that's something that I just love is purpose for everything that I do. Every shell I collect, every fish that I collect is going to be working towards one big goal. I love it.
Yeah. And that makes it so much... I'm just happy that we're going to finally have a reason to collect all of those things and have actual big goals that we have to accomplish, because I think that's the saddest thing in Animal Crossing, when you go all of this time in the game and then all of a sudden you just don't care about a lot of the stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's most of where the drop-off comes from, where you're just like, you get to the point where you're doing the same tasks every day, and that starts to feel like the chore part of Animal Crossing. And I think it needs to get away from that, because I think a lot of people kind of hit that point and they're like, why am I playing this again? And then they just want to wait for the next game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, here's a really big one. We got eating in this game. And we've always been able to eat, but it's always been really pointless and not worth doing. But this clearly showed us that we can eat. We have a measurement that tells us that we've eaten, and then we dig up a tree, an entire tree, first off. I've had to, we were gardening this past summer, and I kind of had to dig so much to get the littlest, tiniest baby tree out of the way, so I could actually turn this whole space into a garden. And that took me all day. It was so hard to do. And now I didn't know. All I had to do was eat an apple, and I'd be able to do it. But yeah, how are you both feeling about this like new kind of mechanic in the game?
It's really cool. I like it a lot. You know, the fact that it's at 6 and then the character eats an apple or something and it goes to 7. And the fact that moving a tree only requires one, I guess, eat point. I don't know what they're going to be called. But it kind of tells me that you're going to be able to do other things with that are going to take more than 1 point. Maybe that's what you need to do to move your tent or hopefully your house, if that's possible.
Oh. Because I really sorry, I got really stuck in that thought of you saying we could move our house, and I was just like, me lifting a house. That's pretty interesting. Because
I imagine take at least 4 apples.
I know, at least. But I have that's something a feature that I really want in this game is just like not being tied to the one location that you place your house, you know? Mm-hmm. And thus far, the screen hasn't really told us that. Usually it's just like once you've picked this place, that's where you are forever, you know? And even when you're placing your home in New Leaf, Tom Nook is like, are you sure this is where you want to be? And you're like, yes, Tom Nook. And he's like, you fool. You cannot plant the trees that you want here. You've made a mistake.
You should have moved one tile to the left.
Exactly. So, yeah, I just really want to see the ability to change where you live after some point. And yeah. I don't know if that would involve downgrading back down to a tent and then moving the tent by itself. Maybe that's the only one we can move, or maybe we can just eat 4 apples, like you said, and and dig up our entire house, uproot it and everything, and then place it somewhere else.
But it's so interesting though, because in a lot of other games, different foods have different energy amounts. So that's why the idea of cooking would be really fun, because that means if I cook the apples or something to maybe an apple pie, will I get more than just 1 energy that way? That's what makes me excited, is that with an energy system, however they call it, that gives the option that some things will give you more than just 1.
Yeah. And that was going to be my next question, too. Do you feel like this is alluding to a system where we're going to be able to cook and make different meals and everything?
I hope so.
Yeah, I kind of do, too. I mean, I've seen a lot of, pushback with the cooking and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a lot of the activities in Animal Crossing have never been, incredibly invasive or necessarily you don't really depend on a lot of activities outside of, I guess you could argue that you do depend on fishing and bug catching in the games. That's been the bulk of the money making process in the previous games, but thus far it seems like they're really spreading out the activities to make them all just a lot more valuable. And if we're going to be if eating is going to be a source of energy for us, I don't mind having recipes that we can cook. We already have crafting recipes, and I more think of recipes for cooking than I do for crafting.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah. And I think it goes back to the thing that I mentioned earlier with, I was nervous about crafting because I was afraid it was going to be implemented right. And I feel like cooking can be good if they implement it right. And the way that they showed that crafting can be implemented correctly, I would have faith in them to also do that with cooking.
Yeah, it seems like the team is just always really nailing it with whatever they add. They make things feel very natural. I feel most people would say the mayor role was a big change, and I guess who knows how they would feel about it now, not knowing about the games and how the things have progressed, but I don't know, I feel like there could have been worries about being a mayor, but I think instantly people connected with it. They connected with how it works and everything, and I think we're seeing that again with the crafting thing. Because I've seen a lot of people turn around on it so far, for sure. Yeah. The next thing we saw was a couple of new apps, and you actually contacted me about one of them because I was saying like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe this is an encyclopedia app, but you kind of pointed out there's a bit of a character on there. Maybe it's our what did you call it?
A contact book.
Yes, a contact book, which is
Nice.
such a good idea. Because it's like, what if we can like text our little villagers and say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Or even like, because I feel like the Call of Islander is like the people who live on your island, but it could be extended. But if it's not, then maybe that's where like your friend's information is, or maybe it's like where your player information is too. But yeah, it's either like a passport or a contact book, and I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, and you also mentioned like just our friends list, for example.
Yeah.
One of my favorite features in New Leaf was that best friend feature where you could best friend somebody, and if you're both
Yes.
playing at the same time and online, like you could message between towns, which is a very unique feature that we couldn't do before. And so like sometimes I'll catch Sergio on and I'm like, hey Sergio, you want to come over? And he could just be like, yeah, let's go watch KK Slider, play some music. And so that makes it just really awesome. That makes it a really cool way to just stay connected to all the people that you play with, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then the other thing that we had was the design app.
Yes.
And this one, I'm interested in this one because I'm like, is this going to like essentially store our designs, or are we going to be able to design directly from this app? Or maybe both, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what are you thinking on those?
I think it's going to be both. I feel like just like our own phones, if we want to make something, we do it on our phone. You usually don't go somewhere to get it done anymore, I feel like, at this like point in time. I feel like a lot of us are like self-sufficient, and I feel like that it could be on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
a
what
good
about-
point. You could place the order there and then just go pick it up, or if you
Yeah.
wanted to, you could just go to the store like the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
I still kind of do that.
I hope
Yeah.
it's extended too. Like, I would like online connectivity with like designs personally, because I would like to go shopping for designs. Because like, I'm not very good at making clothing, but other people are, and I feel like it'd be really cool if there's like a way you could go shopping to like get designs and like
Yeah.
download them and save them.
Yeah, and I think we do need like a workaround for that, because before we did have like the QR codes that we could just scan in, and then there you go, you get this design for this cool shirt, you know? But now, without a camera on the Switch, without any way to really scan anything, we need a solution that makes those designs and things shareable. And
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've been really wondering how they're going to handle this, because there's a lot of like unique forms of communication that the 3DS had versus the Switch, just based on its hardware. Like it had the Street Pass feature, for example, as well as a camera, which like you get a whole slew of other things that you can do when you have a camera attached to your thing, to your system.
I feel like there's going to be a connectivity thing where it'll ask you like, do you want to connect? Is what I'm leaning towards. It's going to ask you to connect if you want to like browse people's designs, and it would be smart for them to keep it all within the Switch and not make you go somewhere else to do it, or like that sort of thing.
Yeah, but then I could also see them doing like the Nintendo Switch Online app for that, where, you know, we've already seen like with Smash Bros, like you can look at stages that people have built and download them directly from the app. And that's also, I don't know, I feel like that is kind of appealing to me, because I sit at work for 8 hours a day, and that's not at home. Like I go into an office and everything.
Yeah.
And so like it'd be nice if I could just take a break and look through the app and be like, oh, this is a really cool design, I'm going to download it from here, and then when I get home I can just use it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like that gives you more ways to play the game, even when you're away from the ability to play the game.
I also want those people to be rewarded. Like maybe they get bells or like Nook Miles or something. Like,
Yeah.
if I buy your design, you should get a reward for it.
That would be really
Good
awesome.
point. Yeah.
Because then that just creates such a huge online community around everything, and you could like favoriting designers, for example, and getting an update whenever they post something new and everything, and you can look through their stores. And
oh my god, what if you could like subscribe to them and they could send you letters when they put out new stuff?
We just need this game to be mixed into our real life as much as possible.
We're so disappointed when this game comes out.
Oh, I know. There's no way this is happening. But I don't know. I love all of the ideas that they can kind of make come true with the apps. Like, maybe they don't exist now, but maybe down the line they're like, you know what? We got a huge update, and this is really going to change the way people can play together. And so they update the things, and they give us a slew of apps that just like really change that, you know? So I think there's...
And if they all work with your real phone, and eventually you get text from your villagers in your phone when you're at work. I want that so bad.
Oh my god, my heart.
And you know what? Nintendo just needs to sell us actual Nook phones.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I'll ditch my phone service and just buy my Nook phone.
Yep, I'm on the Nintendo phone service, and I have the Nook phone. And speaking of that, like they have like the phone cases too.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, people pointed that out, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is dangerous now, because like I'm sure we're going to be able to design our own phone cases too.
I bet it's tied with patterns, honestly.
Yeah, that seems like...
I bet there's a pattern for like a phone case instead of a dress.
Yeah, and this also, it takes me back in, like, very small ways. Like, Population Growing had all of those journals that you could buy, and there were a bunch of different ones. Like, they had different designs and everything, and I'm just like, man, I want to have different designs for my phones, too. And so I don't know which way, how they're going to handle it, but I'm sure it's tied to designs, too, like the patterns and everything.
I feel like the number one feature I want from the apps, out of anything, is in the camera app. I want a way to like quote unquote print the photos and then hang them up somewhere in my house. Like I want to take pictures with you guys and then put it in my living room. Like I want that so bad.
Sergio, you're dying right now.
His whole house is just gonna be photos of KK Slider like everywhere. Like every wall.
Yeah, well, you need to see Sergio's photo book from New Leaf, because he has one, like, printed out photos from New Leaf.
Oh my god!
And I'm so jealous of it. I'm just like, man, I wish I thought of this.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's adorable.
But I want that, because I had that in, like, Dragon Quest Builders, too. And, like, you could take screenshots and snapshots, and you gotta hang them up in your house. And I'm like, I want this for New Leaf. Not Leaf, sorry, New Horizons.
Yeah. Oh, and you're talking, like, actual, like, digitally, like, in the game. I was totally mistaken, because I was talking, like, Sergio has actual real-life printed things.
I mean, like, in-game. Like, I put it in my, like, living room in my game.
Yes.
Like,
I love that, too. I want that.
I want both now, but
yeah, I need them both.
But yeah, if I take a snapshot with my friends, I want to be able to put that snapshot in my house.
Yeah.
Like,
and it seems possible considering like they've already added like filters for everything, but at the same time, I guess they've kind of done filters with like Super Mario Odyssey, for example. Like you can take a snapshot there, and there's a whole filter system. So
I'm not going to use them, but that's so nice they're there.
Yeah, I'm not either. I've always been a hashtag no filter kind of guy.
The only filters I would do would be like the Snapchat styled filters where like you have like dog ears or something. Like I would do those kind of filters, but I wouldn't want to like make the whole thing look more red or blue or something.
Yeah, I tend to really like the color balance of the base game.
Yeah.
And that already looks just really nice to me, so I'm just like, what's the point? Come on.
Yeah, I feel like the only other option would be like a black and white or something, but I don't need the other crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's true. So then we saw a couple new, I guess, we don't really know what this thing is, but we saw a giant mushroom. And we know it's a mushroom. We don't know if we
Yeah.
craft it, if it's something that we use to craft.
I hope we
know-
craft it.
I don't know
Because if
which
it's
one I
if it's
want.
only
actually.
something you can collect, that means there's not going to be many of them, and I want a lot of them because I want to just put them all over my house, like my place, like a fence, and just decorate with them.
That's true.
I want a mushroom maze, please.
This is totally making me think of Stardew Valley. There's that point where kind of randomly giant mushrooms can grow.
Yes.
And man, I got 2 of them in my farm, and I was just like, oh man, I need my whole place to be giant mushrooms.
Yes, please.
But yeah, like that kind of gives me that vibe. I don't know. I guess I don't know which one I want it to be, because if it's like you can get just a ton of mushrooms to craft a lot of different things, or if you just craft them, I think regardless, I'm gonna like whatever I can do with them. Whether it's crafting, whether it's like just something that you can decorate your town with, but it's awesome. And I've always been a big fan of the mushrooms. I have still a bunch of them all throughout my new Leaf Town, and now I'm gonna have a lot more. The next thing we saw was snowflakes, and
Yes.
we've seen the snowflakes a little bit before. They were traded in New Leaf to Snowmam, who is the female snowman.
Well, all of the
female
snow
person.
people, like the boy and the dad too.
Yeah. So I guess I feel like hers though. We specifically trade her like 3 or 5 of them to get a special piece of furniture from her. I think it was the ice furniture.
Wasn't it all of them though? Like they each one gave you a different furniture series, I thought.
I think a couple of them
Or maybe they just give you other items.
Yeah, there's kind of like the base snowman design that kind of gives you the snowman furniture.
Yeah.
And then
And then there was
this-
like the boy one.
Yeah, there's the tyke that gives you 4 different items depending on the family that you make, which is really... I have a whole guide written down. Not a guide.
It's been so long.
Yeah, I have a link to tell me like what I have to do to get certain items from all of them. but yeah, they all have a lot of different furniture series. But with the Snow Ma'am specifically, like we traded snowflakes to her.
Yeah.
And now
I do
I'm
that
just
a
like,
lot.
clearly we've got to be using these snowflakes to craft that cute little like snowflake door decoration that we saw, you know?
Yes.
And now I'm just like, oh man, what else are we going to make? What else is going to be like a seasonal crafting material, you know? Because that's the impression I'm getting with this. Like, this is a seasonal crafting material that we've never really had before.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's a good way to put it, that it's the only time you can get that one type of crafting material is only during winter. The same with the mushrooms, too.
yeah.
That's what I'm hoping that's a crafted item.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that'd be great, especially because like it adds to the longevity of the gameplay. Like every season, sure you've always had like the new fish you could catch, the new bugs, all of this new stuff that was available, but now like adding on top of that and adding new things that you can craft, that is gonna just give us so much more to go for. And I think I kind of want to run out of time doing it, you know, so then I can look forward to the next season where I can do it all again.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I run into that even now with the New Leaf stuff. Like I said, the snow people, they're hard to deal with. You have to
Yeah.
make them perfect.
Maybe we'll just craft the snowman instead.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the snow people look like when we craft them.
Same. Or
Yeah.
can I put clothing on them?
Yeah, it would be
Oh.
really cute to give them actual clothes that they can wear.
Yeah, that'd be
And-
so sweet.
And hats. They gotta wear hats.
Yes.
I feel like they would be like almost like a mannequin. Like, all right, I want you to wear this shirt and like this hat.
But it's gonna be very sad when they melt and all you see is your pile
And
of
all there
soggy
is are just these
clothing.
items sitting there, like dropped items.
Yeah, you see kind of the imprint of a body. It'd be sad.
Why you gotta do me like this?
Sorry. I gotta, Animal Crossing's an emotional game.
It is.
Okay, and then the last thing we had here was the paths, which was another really big thing for me personally, because I was okay with like making patterns and stuff and putting them down, but I think just the management of them and updating them and placing them was just really cumbersome. And so now I'm just like, cool, I can just make paths now, and that's going to be awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so they showed us. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I like that they explained how some parts are round and some parts are straight.
Yes.
Because I remember, I was like, no one's talking about this, that some are round and some are straight. And I was like, I watched so many videos and not one person mentioned it.
Yeah,
and I was like, why is no one freaking out about this?
Yeah. I don't think I mentioned it. I don't remember mentioning it. I noticed it for sure.
No one did. And I was sitting there and it was like bothering me. I was like, does this mean that we're gonna have two different types of like paths we can make? Are there other shapes we can make? I was like, I gotta know. But being able to round it off, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's probably like an erase. Like you erase to like round and then erase again to whatever. But I hope it's an erase, because if you have one piece by itself and you make it round, does that mean I can make like almost like a pebble pathway?
Yeah.
Oh,
I want to have like different types of paths too. So that's important to me. But also like if you round out like 4 edges and just make it like a circle and put big circles all over the place, and you can make essentially like a little plot where you're like, oh, here is gonna be kind of like a garden looking area, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, I think there are a lot of opportunities beyond making a path that are going to be possible with this item. And please, I hope they give us like a way to craft different floorings, I guess, flooring types to put down. Yeah.
I feel like that would be something like shooting themselves in the foot at that point. Like, why would you give us this complex pathing system if there wasn't a way to customize it more?
Yeah, there really needs to be.
So I just feel like I just assume it's going to be there. There might not be a lot to choose from, but I feel like they'll do something.
Yeah, I hope there is. And yeah, it feels like it'd be a missed opportunity if they didn't add it. So I think, Sergio, you just added this, but they confirmed that...
did, but...
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So they did confirm the fossil holes and the money rock.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, those are awesome. You know, somebody, like, I don't know how they noticed this, but somebody pointed out, like, a fossil to me in that, like, I think it was in the treehouse footage. Or
Probably.
I think it was a treehouse footage, but somebody did point out a fossil, and I was like, how did they even see that? That's amazing. Because it was really like across the river in a weird spot. I almost didn't think it was one, but I was like, no, I don't know. The fossils look really cute in this game.
Yeah, they're so detailed too.
Yeah, I don't know. The color just looks really nice, and I don't know. I want them all.
Yes.
And I want to say a random thing. We were walking around a gallery today, Jackie and I, because she's checking out places for planning a reading for like the launch of her book. But we were looking through the stuff, and I saw there were these kind of nerdy pins and bobby pins and earrings and stuff. And one of them was a gyroid and a fossil from Animal Crossing. And I was like, oh man, these are cute. So real life Animal Crossing stuff out there in the wild.
I thought you said you had found a diggy spot out there somewhere.
Oh no. Yeah, not an actual diggy spot, but just some art, some fan art for it.
Nice.
I was like, I use that mod for like Stardew Valley, the one where it makes little Animal Crossing dig spot instead of like the worms.
That's the greatest mod I ever heard of. I love that. Cool. So I guess I got some questions, a couple of them, I think. So I'll start with you, Drama.
Okay.
What did you think of all the new footage that we got in this direct?
I was really, really happy and relieved because I feel like a lot of people wanted like new information and new details, but I think I've talked about this with you before, but I was just glad that they confirmed things and like explained things that we kind of like were just trying to guess on our own. Like, I don't like example for the paths. Like, we didn't know how that was going to work out, or we didn't know what the airport looked like, or we didn't know all the details of all the things. And they kind of just explained everything that we knew a lot better. And then also a lot of people didn't even know about the treehouse footage. So all those people who missed that and only saw the trailer got to like experience all the things that some of us already knew about too.
Yeah, definitely. I do really appreciate getting a rehash of that. And you're totally right. Like, there was just stuff that we didn't really know completely, and we just had to guess.
Yeah.
And so
it took a lot of the guessing out.
Yeah, and so I appreciate that. And I mean, while there's still questions I may have, I am happy with what we got.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to see too much. I know I'm getting the game, and I'm going to find out eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you, Sergio? What did you think of the footage?
Well, I was not expecting it, to be honest. So the fact that we got it, and I agree, they even said, we want to clarify a couple of things. We showed you this, so we want to show you a little bit more. I really like the approach. I think they did it really well. They showed new things. They didn't go too much into detail. I feel like they're holding back on purpose with some of the things we want to know about it, specifically the map. So it kind of tells me that they're going to be doing this a good amount of times, maybe at least once. I'm kind of already calling it. I think there's going to be an Animal Crossing specific direct in early December. I think Nintendo wants to show us this game every 3 months until it comes out next March. So it's we're gonna see a little bit every 3 months, and I think that's okay. So I think Nintendo's doing a good approach on it.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I wanted to say something on the first thing you said, but I don't remember quite what it was. But I will say that we did get, from the official tweet that Nintendo put out about New Horizons, they did confirm that we'll be seeing this game again before release. So I don't know when it will be. I kind of think still like January, February-ish for me. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm happy that we saw things, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Just because I'm there with you. I do remember now what you said, but I'm there with you where I was like, I don't know if we can expect it. Like, I already felt so burned from the previous year, where September we got the announcement. We didn't really see the game. They just kind of confirmed that they're making it, and we're like, great, that's good to know. Please show it to us early next year. And so January passes by, there's not a direct, and we're like, oh man, whatever. Then February happens, and we're like, okay, this is it. Like, we gotta see Animal Crossing. And then they skipped it, And then it's not till E3, like almost 9 months later, that we saw it for the first time. By then, we were burned, we were just like, we went into, at least I felt like I was going into September, like, I don't know, they've skipped us before, they could do it again. So it just felt like that opportunity was there, and I was just amazed that they gave us such a large portion of footage,
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, like, I loved it. I'm very impressed with the updates they've made to the game so far.
Like the grass. And the grass.
Yeah, we're not going to go anywhere without talking about the grass.
Yes.
Because I don't think it's come up yet. But the grass, like, the patterns are so much more prominent than they were before. Cause that was one of the biggest comments before. Like, it just looked empty-ish. Like, it didn't look like Animal Crossing quite yet, And so now the patterns look so good. And I think they got a really good balance for the look there, I
mean, I get why they didn't have a lot of patterns before. I mean, this is probably a lot of people's not knowledge, but like from a developer perspective, to have less flashy stuff in the game to make sure the game runs smoothly before you start adding like, more detailed water, more detailed grass, more detailed everything. It's good to make sure the game just works.
Exactly.
And so like, people don't realize that, but all of that grass is like randomly generated for your town specifically, and to do that takes processing, and they just want to make sure the game worked first. And they want to make sure they had like a working demo and a working trailer, just because it was such an early build for them. And so it was good to see it updated.
Yeah, and I really do like seeing this kind of the development process happen. I mean, it's like at the tail end of it, I feel. But it's fun to see like, oh, here's what it looked like while they were working on it and doing all the different things that it takes to make a game. And now we're already just like 3 months later, and the thing has already been so updated. But it also makes me wonder, like, how much further along were they when they actually filmed things for like E3 and the trailer, you know?
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, when they got that all prepared, like how old this demo build was compared to like where they were.
They probably picked the most stable build and then went with that one versus like, this is the prettiest graphics.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I still really like just like capturing that we're getting something that truly captures, like, here is the game in an unfinished state, and now we're seeing like visible differences with it getting closer to completion.
I mean, we even saw that with that Yoshi game that came out, the Crafted World, where like each trailer would come out and the graphics looked better and better and better each time. And same thing with Luigi's Mansion 3. So I feel like the next time we see Animal Crossing, it's going to look even better again.
Yeah, and it's strange. I don't know if I just like never noticed it before, but I feel like this generation, the Switch generation, I'm noticing it a lot more with games.
Yeah.
And I guess I haven't really looked too in depth with like the Link's Awakening remake, for example, because that one, it just looked really cute the first time we saw it, and now it still just looks really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I don't know. I really want to be one of those people just digging through, just sitting there watching Nintendo make things and seeing how the magic happens, you know?
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah. And also, like, to bounce off of what you said earlier, that I do really like that we're not getting shown too much of the game thus far. I feel like this footage was very obviously, like, beginning of the game still, because it almost looked like it was that opening sequence of getting to the island and your character is running up to the main plaza with the other two villagers who moved in with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So that whole sequence looked like, oh, this might be that first time that we're seeing our town, you know?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, so I really like that because there's just going to be so much that we're going to be able to accomplish by the end of this game, and there's so much that we just don't know. For example, like, I guess this leads into my next question. Like, is there anything else you'd like to see? And since I was kind of mid into it, I really want to see like how the extra buildings work, how the special characters work, because we've seen nothing for that so far.
Yeah.
We don't really know if they're going to be like on a separate island, if they're going to be eventually building on your island, you know, or if they just show up at that main plaza area, you know? So what do you both think about that?
That's true. And I also have that on my list of things that I want more details about. I want to see the map. I want them to really explain, you know, this is the full map. You can expand this or you cannot. This is it. This is all you get. Just to clarify everything, especially, you know, including for you, Tree. I want to know if you're going to be able to plant cedar trees everywhere. Hopefully that's the case. And definitely I want to see new villagers and new special characters. Whatever they have, I think they're going to show them all together at once. So I think they're holding on to that probably for like the very last. So I want to see that for sure.
I just don't want them to show me too much. Like, I'm really worried about it because there's something like magical about starting up a game and not knowing what to expect and being surprised by it. Like the first time we all booted up New Leaf and we saw Rover on the train and we hadn't seen him like on a train since 2002. And so there's just something like special about that was heartwarming, and I want to be surprised by the game. And it's going to be harder with 2019 or 2020, I guess, in this case, for people to not like go in and try to find all the things that happen on Halloween or all the things that happen on Christmas. But I'm going to do my best to like avoid spoilers and avoid all this stuff because I want to experience it myself for the first time.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way too. I'm gonna be, at least with that, like I've always been a strict no time travel kind of player.
Yeah.
And so I really don't want to see a lot of the holidays and stuff before they happen. I want to experience it as fresh as possible.
Yeah, I feel like the only time traveling I ever did was adjusting the time of day. So like if I got off work at like 10 p.m., I would like start it to like 1 p.m. and then like go through the day.
Yeah.
Other
I
than
think
that,
that's
I never skipped
reasonable.
days.
Yeah. And the other thing, like, I'm kind of slightly worried about, but also just accepting that I'm going to definitely abuse this, is that people can have southern hemisphere towns as well as northern hemisphere towns. So
Yes, you talked about that.
yeah,
in your
I am for
video.
sure going to visit one of my friends who lives in Brazil, and I'm going to go during autumn and just see, like, but then also, like, I don't know, I guess you can manipulate it in a way where you're like, oh, I didn't get to craft this, I better go and to somebody's town who has this piece, this item, you know, that lets me craft that. So,
But that's still going to be cool, though, to be able to get a glimpse and to walk around in that holiday or that season. And they're going to want to do it for you, too. They're going to be like, oh, I want to see spring, so I'm coming to visit you, too.
yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be like a big reason to have just friends all over the world to go and play with. I'm so excited to play with people. 8 players. That's amazing.
Can you imagine doing like a live stream with like 8 people like on the mic and you're all just running around together? It'd be so much fun.
Yeah, it would be pretty wild. But it'd also be really
gladly
just
join
great.
you guys sometime.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see like what they're gonna do with the 8 players, because I feel like there's gonna be something that's very different than how we've been able to play so far.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of another reason like I'm expecting more news for this game, because like during the E3 presentation, they're like, we're going to show off the multiplayer a lot more in depth in the future, you know? They kind of said later on, so it made it sound like they were going to do more coverage for New Horizons during the E3.
Yeah.
And then you brought us to our senses.
But something also to think about that made me think about it the other day was the beginning of the year, we got a Pokemon Direct, and Pokemon doesn't come out until this fall or this winter. So there could be a chance we could possibly get more than one Animal Crossing Direct.
That would be awesome. I would love to get multiple directs for that game. They always do such a, I don't know, the Animal Crossing dedicated directs are always so much fun, and I just love them so much. And, you know, it gets, a lot of the fans get together to watch it. And, I mean, some people, like, there's some people who will check out games that they don't really know too much about, you know? But I think for the most part, like, that's when we as Animal Crossing fans get to experience this together and not have a bunch of people like, what is this? What am I looking at? But I think that's normal too, because I feel like Animal Crossing is one of those games where people see it and they're like, what is this? I don't really understand it. And it fortunately
so
has
hard. Like, how do you describe it in like 2 sentences? Because you can't, like, you have to write paragraphs explaining.
I know. Yeah. So fortunately, like, it's a game that has a nice look to it. So people are like, I don't know exactly what this is, but it looks great, so I'm going to try it out. And then that keeps our fandom growing, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So did you all have anything else to say about like some of the new stuff that we got to see during New Horizons, the portion of the Direct?
Well, one thing we didn't talk about was all of the new accessories, like the clothing and hair and bags.
Yeah. Yes. I saw a picture that kind of somebody had just collected all of the different bags that we could get. And I was like, yes, I love this. I wear nothing but my backpack in Pocket Camp now.
Same.
Yeah, they're so cute just to walk around. And even if it's just like something that's just for decoration that adds to just the aesthetics of your character, I'm fine with that. But I'm still kind of wondering, like, is this going to give us more inventory?
I think it's going to, because why would they have that many designs just for an accessory? Like, I feel like they wanted it to be extended storage, and to make it something people want to do, they just gave you lots of options to choose from.
Yeah. And I will say too, like the screen where we're looking at our inventory, I think up until this game, we kind of got like a whole full screen for looking at our inventory, you know, but this one, like, it just shows up as a bubble above your head. And I'm like, there's like a lot of screen space to really expand that, you know?
Yeah.
It technically is more slots than we did have, but there is still a lot of room there. I do agree.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like there's just like room on the screen to give us some more room.
'Cause we haven't seen anyone's storage a bubble above their head while wearing a bag.
Yeah, that's
They
very
have
true.
not shown us that. Every single time they show us inventory, it's someone who's not wearing a bag.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just me being over analyzing, but I think it means something.
I do too. You know what? We're crazy. But it's a good thing. Yeah. Cool. Then I guess we'll hop into Haken's Islander Corner, where every week we ask our patrons a question, and then we share their answers here on the show. So, this week's question was, what did you all think of the New Horizons coverage during the Nintendo Direct? And of course we had to ask them, because I love hearing what they all have to say, especially when we get some new news. New news is always fun to say, yeah. Sergio. New Horizons news.
New Horizon news.
Yep, that's the way to say it. So Sergio, we'll go back and forth. I guess I'll start with Wendy. So Wendy Lucio said, it was really exciting to see all the new things they clearly placed here and there. It's like they knew we'd be obsessive enough to catch all the minuscule details. I picked this one because, yes, of course we're obsessive enough to catch all of these minuscule details. Like, that's what we play this game for, you know? Because I feel like I was talking about this in the video, but Animal Crossing fans, like, we are all about the little things. I remember the first trailer we got, and I was just freaking out over butterfly shadows, you know?
And cloud shadows, too. Don't forget
cloud
that.
shadows. Yeah, all of these little tiny details that everybody's like, yeah, so? And I'm just like, come on. This is the greatest thing we've ever seen. If you don't get that, I don't get you.
I feel like if you compare both trailers together, the E3 trailer and this trailer was way more cluttered and had way more details in it. I feel like they must have noticed that we're all making all these analyzing videos of like, oh my god, they pay attention to everything. We have to step up our game. And I feel like they like over cluttered on purpose because we're obsessed with it.
They have to be listening to us. I mean, I feel like I'm the only person in the world who really cares about trees being able to grow right next to other objects or buildings or anything, the river even. And now we're seeing very clearly that trees can do that. Like, you can place them right next to something. So I'm just like, look, Nintendo, clearly you're listening, because I feel like I'm the only one who's ever said that. I'm the only one who talks about trees for like 5 minutes out of each podcast.
You know what? Maybe they listen to these podcasts, okay?
I hope so. Hi, Nintendo. I'm still waiting to hear back from you. If you want to be on episode 100, let us know.
Nice.
Yeah.
The next answer is by Mason, and they say, this might be weird, but the change in the grass design from E3 was my favorite part. Originally, the grass pattern design was only in certain places, and now it covers the entirety of the ground, which is a great aesthetic change that is also extremely subtle. This is true. I mean, for those of us that were looking, we noticed it, and we loved it. So, Nintendo got it right on that one.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, I don't know, I watch a lot of different people talk about a lot of different Nintendo things. And for a lot of them, they kind of looked at this and they're like, you know, there wasn't really anything new. And yeah, there wasn't, but grass is different. So that's enough for me.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like the part that he wrote that it was subtle, because, like, I would have hated if they added more grass pattern and it was, like, way too in your face and way too contrasted. The fact that it, like, if you weren't paying attention, like, it would look the same or would look natural or normal. But for us, like, who love that little pattern, it meant a lot.
Yeah. And the patterns, I'm wondering, like, how they're going to appear, because I know we usually get, like, 3 seasons where they're all the same, like triangles, circles, or squares. But then the winter one will be the one that changes it up, where you have, like, stars or hexagons, or I forget what the other one is, but they do have, like, different shapes, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how they're going to handle that, and I'd love to see maybe some new shapes come into play, but who knows? I haven't looked close enough to find any.
It's gonna be so fun finding out all the details about our own islands. Like, oh my god, what shape of grass am I getting?
I know, that's a big deal. Like, people reset for that stuff.
All I care about is I don't want pears, but other than that.
I'm going for... not pears.
I really want peaches, if I can pick one.
I would not mind having peaches again. I went for cherries in New Leaf, and that was really nice because I've always really loved cherries, like, actually, as a fruit. I like them.
Yeah.
But my very first town was peaches, and I was like, you know what? I want this to be a peach town again. I think that'd be nice.
My dream would be on the airplane, they ask us, what's your favorite fruit? Like,
yes.
That would be it for me. Please just ask me. Let me pick so I don't have to reset.
That would be really great. And then at the same time, though, I'd be torn between that and apples because the apples looked really good with the perfect design.
At least you can eventually get them all, but I don't want pears. I don't like pears.
Yeah, the green on green. I like pears as fruit themselves, but
no.
I don't like the coloring too much.
I can't stand pears. Like if I do like a charity event, like one of my like rewards is if we make this much money, then I'll eat a pear or I'll eat pears because I hate them.
Well, that's good to know.
We'll make a bet that if this doesn't happen, I'll eat pears or something.
I'll have to watch that for sure. So Denise said, for me, the stuff they had shown in the video was 90% things we already knew from E3 and the Treehouse presentation. I wish they had shown more of what our island will look like after like half a year and how the introduction to special characters works, but I really liked this video as a whole because it perfectly sums up what our deserted island life will look like. Good job, Tom Nook. Yeah, so I mean, I kind of felt this way a little bit too, maybe not like so 90% things we already knew, because I felt like for me there was plenty of new things, but yes. I will say like I am still very interested in like how the special characters are going to work for sure, and I don't know, I feel like getting a little tiny glimpse of something in the future is just, I can't help but want that.
For sure.
I feel like they're not going to tell us until they confirm that a store is going to be on the island or we have to go somewhere to go shopping. Because I think that it's not going to be on our island. As much as people want it to be, and I don't think it's going to be. I feel like it would make more sense, like, if you were living on a deserted island, you would go somewhere else to go shopping. Like, you would go somewhere else to, like, go get the things that you need that aren't on your own island.
I'm so torn about that because I kind of don't want to like put a loading screen between me and shopping that isn't just walking through the door, you know?
Fair.
So like having to walk down to the southern half of my town, which is already pretty unique though, then getting on the plane and going somewhere else, you know, like that just adds a little bit more time to how long it takes you to accomplish something. And
what if it was both? Like, what if it started out that they were in another town, but as your island progresses, they're like, ooh, can I open up a shop on your island too?
I would also love that too, though. I don't mind that. But I think, like, for me, it just has to get to that point where I have the shop on my island, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll accept it if it doesn't happen that way. But I think right now I'm just like, well, we don't know. I'll say what my preference is.
Nice.
My preference would be little random pop-up shops in the little like dirt path where like where Tom Nook's little tent is. Like, I just want random little shops to pop up and selling random things here and there. But like their main store is not on my island.
I think that's a fun way to do it.
I want my island to be residential. Like, I don't want my island to be a business, and I don't want businesses everywhere. Like, I never made roosters because I didn't want a coffee shop, like, next to someone's house. It just felt weird to me. So, I never made it.
I guess the mini game's so cool.
I know. I would go to my friends' like towns and like hang out at their coffee shop, but I wouldn't make my own.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I think that's cool. I like that dedication to it being more residential for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. So the next answer, I believe it's pronounced Aedo Jaeger. And the
I
answer
think
is the
Thanks,
wind and
Jaeger.
weather effects have me captivated. I was playing Animal Crossing on the GameCube the other day, and the contrast between New Horizons' living, breathing world and the relatively static Animal Crossing worlds we're being used to up until now was striking. Shout out to the sunset effect during the big mushroom scene, too. And as a side note, I did feel the trailer's narrator sounded a little pandering, but if you watch the Japanese trailer, it's way more soothing and pleasing to listen to. I want to do that. I need to watch the Japanese trailer, especially Chewy, after you
Yes.
mentioned the additional colors there.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you, like, I still haven't even watched it. I've just seen, like, these things tweeted to me, and I keep
Oh.
forgetting to go and look at it because I'm busy looking at the one I have
That's going to be your
saved.
new video. Comparison between the two trailers coming
Yeah, that's
out this
true.
week.
Yep. Just hear all the different. Here's the side by side.
I think it would be a really cool comparison to see what is different, what's not. Or even like all three, like the E3 next to ours and then Japan's, like all three panels. Let's go, Chewy. I know you can do it.
Yeah, that's true. It'd be fun, and I think we need to see it that way. It's in our guts.
I have faith in you.
Awesome. So Mal said, I loved it. I didn't think a lot of people realized how many new things were in that Animal Crossing bit. I saw somewhere that they noticed different phone cases on villagers' Nook phones. I was also really happy with all the announcements as a whole. Switch has quickly become my fave console. And
Yes.
it's such a good console. It really is. But yeah, like there's so many new things that I felt like fans noticed that definitely flew over other people's heads because
Yeah.
I mean, we've said it. We're all obsessed. We notice all of these little things, so naturally we're going to see a lot of stuff that other people don't really catch on to.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And the last answer for this week's question is by Lindsay Hiller. And they say, I loved it. I'm obsessed with the trees in this game. I love how tall they are. Also, that scene where the girl is walking through the trees and it's really windy and overcast, perfection. I'm someone who prefers more gloomy weather in real life, so I'm loving all of the details in the weather in this game. The winter scenes are stunning as well. Yes, they are, especially the night scenes.
Yes.
I love them.
Oh, they look so good.
Yeah, I totally agree with the gloomy weather too. It's been like overcast and rainy here for me all day, and
Oh, nice.
I've been loving it.
I feel like those were always like the weakest things, the ones that Lindsay mentioned in New Leaf was like gloomy weather or winter. Like I felt like they could have always done more for them. Like they didn't feel like they put as much effort as they did into like spring or summer. But they really brought it for New Horizons. And I'm like, I can't tell which season's my favorite. Like fall's usually my favorite, but the pink in the spring and the like the snow coloring and the winter, it just I can't pick now. And it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, and I think more than ever, people are really opening up to that winter season because I think
Yes.
personally, I really like winter. I think it's a beautiful season, and now seeing that in Animal Crossing this way, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh man, I kind of really like winter now."
Yeah.
Which is good because I think every season has a lot of really great things to do and a lot of great fun activities. So I think now that it's going to be as visually pleasing as the other ones, because looking back at Winter and New Leaf, I'm just like, why did I like this? This is it's hard to go back now.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all of our answers for today. It's been so fun having you on, Drama.
Yeah. Thank you for having me again. It was so fun.
Yeah, and I guess where can people find you when they're not listening to this episode of the podcast?
Well, I do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dramakins. Or else I am probably being a troll on Twitter. My handle there is Dramakins TV. I feel like that's my thing. That's my branding, I guess.
It's fun. We like the drama.
Yeah, I bring the drama. It's part of the name.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast. Don't want the episode to end? Well, you can keep this conversation going by Nintendo switching over to our Discord. Just follow the link in the description, and you can talk with other people who love Animal Crossing as much as you do, including Sergio, me, and Drama. You're there too.
Yeah!
If you want to support the show in a bigger way and get your voice heard, visit patreon.com/ChewiePlaysNintendo. You can support our show with just $1, have an episode dedicated to you, get special access to a secret room on Discord, join in on the Haken Islander Corner, and even read a monthly newsletter covering all things Haken and Chewie Plays. We really appreciate the support and put your money toward great things on the show. Tuned in on YouTube? The comments are a great place to let us know your answers to the Haken Islander Corner. What did you think about the New Horizons coverage during this Nintendo Direct? And if you dig what you hear, please KK slide over to that review section on your platform of choice. Let people know what they're missing out on. Haken is a wild production brought to you by Chewie, Sergio, and all of our patrons. We thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye!